Hello, everybody. Welcome to part two of our 12 days of the Comic Source Fireside Chat with Comic Source and Comic Boom. Hope you guys all enjoyed the first half where we talked New York Comic Con, cons in general, the year that was, big books that we got this year. Just had a fantastic conversation about Absolute Batman, Absolute titles in general, all that sort of great stuff. So we're going to continue in that vein. I want to talk Marvel DC crossovers with Rocky from Comic Boom and Steve. But we're going to actually kick this one off. Steve's going to open up his gifts from under the DC tree. He's got a couple of the DC. Are these the DC KO blind bags that you have?
DC KO.
Yeah, amazing. And we'll talk a little blind bags too, because I'm curious how you guys feel about it. If you feel the same way that I do. Because actually, as we're recording this, and we're recording this about a week before Christmas, actually. Yeah, Mark Spears Monsters had he had blind bags come out again. He did them for Halloween. Now he has them for Christmas. They're just not my thing, man. They're just not my thing. It's 100% gambling of what you're going to get. You can get a 1 in 500 or a 1 in 1,000 or whatever. I kind of just wish, and I know you feel this way as well, Rocky, that man, just make all the covers open to order so I can just order the cover that I want. You know what I mean?
What is it?
I agree with you.
I can't even see it.
It's a nice. I don't know what
foil?
that. Yes, it
Jorge
is.
Jimenez foil.
It's Mike Del Mondo.
Oh, Mike Del Mondo
Variant cover.
Does it give you the odd? Is it
On
is
the
it a
back?
ratio?
Yeah,
Doesn't show a ratio.
I don't think it's a ratio. It's the foil of Mike Del Mondo, with the Trinity holding up the Earth being taken over by the Heart of Apocalypse.
I will say that
one.
I think doing it where you can get original art. They've done that in the past with the
that I appreciate.
the Harley Quinn. I remember that Harley Quinn.
I mean, it's a gimmick. Let's be blunt here. Blind bags are a gimmick. I think that the biggest tongue in cheek. As much as I hate it, I got to give Marvel props for having the first issue of Daredevil being a blind bag.
That's funny. I do appreciate that.
It's such a bad joke. It's funny, but I got to give him credit for that. That's funny.
Okay, so here we go. Here's the second.
Second
one.
one.
That's a foil as well.
Yeah, but it's the Superman one.
Well, at least you didn't get the same one twice. Oh, I like that cover actually.
I'm very happy with this one as well. Yeah.
Yeah. But I sort of feel the same way, right? Like, yeah, it's a gimmick. I mean, I'm not a fan of variant covers to begin with because they are propping up the industry in a lot of ways. But unfortunately, it's now become necessary. It's like, okay, you do this thing to generate sales, but now it's the baseline, and it's allowed publishers to do some good things, like their increased page rates for creators and what have you. But the problem is now you can't go back. And it's one of these things when you do this type of stuff, it has diminishing returns, right? Like just like relaunching with a new number one, that used to be a way you could really boost sales. But it was artificial, and then Marvel, and it was mostly Marvel's fault because they did it every year or every time they switched creative teams, they got a new number one. So now people stopped paying as much attention, and you didn't get that bump in sales from being a new number one like the way that you used to. And variant covers, now they're finding the same thing. The ratio covers are not generating as much revenue, so they have to pivot to something else. So it's blind bags. Now, I said I don't really care for them. I didn't buy any DCKO blind bags. I haven't bought any Mark Spears blind bags. I did buy the new Batman. I did buy one blind bag of the new Batman. I didn't open it. So it's kind of like, why did I even bother? It's like buying a lottery ticket and not scratching it off. But it's somewhere in some box somewhere, so maybe I'll open it if I come across it. But yeah, just not a fan of it. So we can't because it's gambling. But go ahead, Rocky.
I feel compelled to say one thing about the blind bags. I think it's very important that people. It's always the quiet part that nobody says out loud that bothers me. The quiet part that nobody says out loud, but they're kind of saying is, look at the success of the Absolute line. There are multiple. We're on the 10th printing of Batman, Absolute Batman #1. And why are people buying it? They're not buying it for the covers. The multiple printings have the same cover A, but with slightly different shading in the background of that classic pose of absolute Batman. They're buying it for the story, right? Guess what they're not talking about with Mark Spears' blind bags? In fact, if you ask people about if Mark Spears knows how to write, they all say no, he doesn't. The stories are terrible. That's the quiet part out loud. It's gimmick. Gimmick, gimmick, gimmick. And don't believe me. Ask people. As a matter of fact, ask anybody who's bought a Mark Spears blind bag if they've read it. 9 out of 10 will say no, they haven't.
No, they haven't.
And I don't say that to put down Mark Spears. I say that to say, what are you in this hobby for exactly? And it's sort of like, again, I'm not trying to be pretentious here, an old man yelling at clouds, even though I am an old man yelling at clouds. It's just, at the same time, what is going to save this industry? Quality storytelling. That's what people come back to. That's really it. Not the gimmicks, not the 99, multiple covers sold at Halloween where the artist who's not a writer is pumping out stories, but he can't find a writer to write it, so he writes it himself. Nobody talks about the writing. And I personally, I'm a little bit insulted that my fellow comic book creators and my fellow YouTubers out there, not enough people are talking about the lack of storytelling in some of this stuff. We're missing half the equation, and it's okay to focus on the secondary market, but too often we forget that there's, comic books are a collaboration. You need a good story and a good cover. And that's my Christmas Day rant, or Christmas rant a little bit. I think that comic books this year in 2025, I think we've got plenty of reminders in 2025, largely thanks to a thriving, fantastic independent market and DC, that quality storytelling is what brings us into this hobby. And the cherry on top should be the covers. The attraction should be the story. So.
Well, I mean, when you talk about variant covers, which is, blind bag, the whole idea is you don't know what variant cover you're going to get, and it costs, X amount of dollars, right? So, regular comic costs $3.99, $4.99. You're buying a blind bag, maybe it's $7.99, but you have the opportunity to get a 1 in 50 that might normally go for $25, $40, $50. You can get a 1 in 100 that's normally going to go for $100 or more, that sort of thing. But let's think about the inherent value of a 1 in 100 and a 1 in 50. It's manufactured scarcity, right? Like they literally, supposedly only print, one copy of this variant cover for every 100 copies of the regular cover. So it is scarcer. They are trying to, artificially create scarcity to manipulate supply and demand. But at the end of the day, if we're talking about what it's actually worth, it's only worth what somebody will pay for it. And if the story inside is the same, and all I care about is the story, then I don't really, I want a cover that I like, but if this one's $4 and this one's $100, and I like the covers about the same, it's a no-brainer on which one to pick. And oftentimes, again, and this was what the variants were doing, propping up the industry. But now everybody's gotten so burnt out on it because some of these books, like over at Dynamite, had 50 covers for a number one. It's like you don't care, and a lot of times the variants, it's like once a couple months go by, the bubble is gone, and people have moved on to something else, whatever the latest and greatest is, and they've forgotten about that other stuff, and it doesn't matter. So, and you can get it a lot cheaper than you could. I mean, you're never going to spend more on a variant cover most of the time, as you will the first week that it comes out, and that there are exceptions, right? Like you look at a classic cover that everybody wants. We talked in part 1 about the J. Scott Campbell Amazing Spider-Man covers. You can look at the Adam Hughes variant for Harley Quinn number 1, where she's in the straitjacket. But those are exceptions rather than the rule. And the thing is, you never quite know when that's going to happen. So I say that to say this. Nobody's holding a gun to anybody's head for them to buy variant covers. So buy what you want if you want to gamble on it. But don't gamble on it. Don't spend more money than you can afford to spend hoping to get a 1 in 100, 1 in 500, 1 in 1,000, and squirrel it away and think it's going to, buy you a new car when you finally sell it. Because a lot of times, I guarantee you could go right now on eBay and find some of the Mark Spears variants that were the hardest ones to get at Halloween, and they're less expensive now than they were,
Sure.
the first week of November or whenever that book came out.
Yeah.
So clearly you're a fan of them, Steve. You like the idea of being able to get
So
a
I've
1
had-
in 100, for a lot less than you normally would.
What I really enjoy about the blind bags is there's a story that's always going to be connected to it, and it's connecting us. I don't know.
It's a good point.
I go into my local shop, and when I buy my blind bags, I hand them right over to the person I purchased them from, and I said, let's do this. Let's open them up. He gets a thrill out of it. I get a thrill out of it. The people that are in the store are like, what? They're opening up some blind bags? What do you think they're doing? They're coming up. They're taking it up. It's even come to the point where I've had a few people run to the shelf and say, hey, I'm going to buy a couple too. Let's see what we got. And you go online and you watch these videos. There's stores doing midnight releases. Hey, come on in. We're gonna cut open. Hey, if you come in by this hour, we're gonna give you a free blind bag. Right? Free blind bag just for coming in before midnight. Right? And just seeing the experience and the connection it's creating amongst us collectors, I think that's the journey. I think that's what it's all about. And that's what I've enjoyed the most out of blind bags. Now, don't get me wrong. I've purchased 3 blind bags and 2 of them are doubles. And then do you think I can get rid of the other double just with a simple trade? No, because the guy that opens his, he's happy with his. He doesn't, but it's that experience. It's that journey. It's what I enjoy. It's, like we talked on the previous, issue with Absolute Universe. It's about flipping that page and seeing that kid getting kicked, and he's just taking me back to the over the top world. And that's what I'm just enjoying about it all, right? So, but for me, blind bags, it really is a connection piece. It's a talking point. Hey, what did you get? Did you hit that ratio? Did you get the 1 in 100? Did you get the 1 in 50? Did you get the cover that you're really, really hoping for? Right?
I just want to add to what Steve's saying but it's all the more important that because the blind bag gets people connected, it gets people excited, it gets them in the shops, it gets them taking it off the shelf, it gets them talking about the product. It gets average Joes like the 3 of us doing YouTube videos, and we're doing blind bag openings, and we're having fun out of it, and we're joking about it. But what keeps you connected is the quality of the story. You got to have good stories. And, DCKO has been a reasonably, we can talk about the respective, our opinions as to the various battles, but we even did a video on the contestants and the battles and the different rounds. And that's what's important. It still comes down to story. So to me, I don't mind the gimmicks as long as the gimmicks are in support of a story that is actually grounded, that's actually good. And that's the big question mark, I think, in the comic industry that I wish they would focus a little bit more on is, I don't want to be judgmental. People can judge for themselves, but I just feel that in this social media environment that, and we're all maybe guilty of it to a certain extent, we tend to focus sometimes a little bit more on the window dressing as opposed to what's behind the window. And, there's a story there, and sometimes the story is just not there. And I find, DCKO at least has a little bit of substance behind it. And I'm hoping that, Daredevil blind bag for Marvel will have some substance behind it. Stephanie Phillips, God bless her. I'm a fan of hers. I'm hopefully she's going to she's going to hit the ground running with Daredevil. Stuff like Mark Spears, tremendous talent artistically, but, sometimes, man, you gotta, I think that there's an old expression, it's very dirty, but it's when you blow your load too soon. I think Mark Spears may have done that.
Yeah, don't forget Lee Garbett on that art for Daredevil, who's fantastic as well. Recently did a Batman arc, which was great, for Tom Taylor's detective run. It's at the end of the day, I think a lot of the people that are buying the blind bags, they don't care about the story, honestly, because they're not reading it anyway. So going back to your point on, there is the collectible side, the speculator side, or just, hey, I like this cover, I want this cover, whatever. I just got done talking about it in part one of this episode about how the community that produces content about the collectible side of comics there's actually more YouTube channels about the collectible side and speculating and grading and whatever than there is people actually reviewing the stories. And that's a perfectly reasonable way to collect. And that's really, I feel like, who these blind bags are for. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's the appeal of them. To your point, Steve, about, hey, it's the people that are just hoping to hit that lottery ticket, that get together and have that experience, that shared experience. So it's really interesting. And it kind of leans into the next thing I want to talk about, which is these Marvel and DC crossovers. We're about to get the third one next year. The Superman, Spider-Man. Again, I'll plug my chat with Tom King. He has a Lois Lane, Mary Jane Watson story in there. He tells us why he chose those two characters. It's really interesting why he chose those two characters. Not for a reason you'd guess, is what I think. But it is coming. And we know that the main story of Superman and Spider-Man is, it's probably going to be pretty solid Dan Moran art and what have you. But my point is this: so we had the crossovers in the late 70s, early 80s. Superman, Superman, Spider-Man, the original one way back when. Teen Titans. What was it? Teen Titans and X-Men, and then
Batman and Hulk.
And there was there a Wonder Woman one as well?
Yeah,
the Wonder Woman with the Uncle Sam on the cover.
Trying to go find it here.
Yeah. Anyway, the point being that then we didn't have them for a long time. The JLA Avengers that they tried to put together, for a long time and couldn't get it done, and then finally they've released it years later. And then we had the amalgam stuff in the 90s, but it's been 30 years we went without having a Marvel and DC crossover. And I don't know anything officially, but what I was always told by people whose opinions that I trust that were much closer to it, it was basically Marvel saying, well, why would we want to cross over with DC? We don't need to. We're killing it. So I think it's very telling now that Marvel is willing to cross over with DC, but I do feel like they could fall into that same trap. Because here's the thing. If you do it once in a while, it's special. Yep, there's two of them, Superman, Spider-Man, Batman, Hulk. If you do it once in a while, it's special. If you do it all the time, it's less so. So we already had Deadpool, Batman, and then Batman, Deadpool. And now we're getting, and I think it's the 30th anniversary or 40th anniversary of the first Superman, Spider-Man crossover. So now we're getting another one. And I just worry. So, I mean, now it's like I was saying, Marvel's we don't need to. We don't want to do a crossover with DC. Why would we want to help them out? They're our competition. Why would we want? But now I think Marvel's hurting, so now they're willing to do it. But it's almost you almost think the shoe's on the other foot, and DC would be like, nah, Marvel, we don't need to help you out. Why are you helping them out, DC? It's cool for fans, certainly, to see these types of crossovers. There's speculation, obviously, with the news of Netflix buying them, that will Netflix license out the creators? I mean, DC almost licensed the Marvel characters when Marvel's going through bankruptcy. It came very close to happening where Marvel was going to cease publication and they were going to license their characters out. DC would have stepped right in. Everything would have been published under one publishing logo or one company, and it could have been a shared universe. I like them separate because I feel like they have a different aesthetic and a different feel, and I like when they're separate. I don't mind that crossover once in a while, but I do wonder, after not having crossovers for decades, now we've gotten 3 within 6 months. So I say that to say I just hope they don't try to do it too often, because when you do it too often, it becomes less special. It's like all the Star Wars content that we got, it's diminishing returns after a while because you just get too much of it. So I don't know. That's how I feel about it. What do you guys think?
Well, first of all, I think the marketing was absolutely horrendous. I don't know how many times I've walked into my shop and person's like, "What? This is a different book? You mean there's Batman, Deadpool, what came first? What do I need to read first? What do I?" Right? I just felt like maybe they should have just marketed it a little better. I feel a lot of people going into the shops are really confused as to like, didn't I just buy this like 3 weeks ago, a month ago? Isn't this the same book, just a different cover? Are they trying to, is this a gimmick? Do I got to buy another cover? Like they don't even realize there's different stories beneath the cover, right? And then on top of it, you throw what, 10, 15 variant covers per book? You know, and we're not talking like these are expensive. Well, in my world, they're a little bit more pricey than your average book, right? So you throw 15 covers, and then you look at, well, why are those two people on the cover? What do they have to do with the book? Like, I think all in all, the marketing wasn't the greatest. I love the idea that they're working together. I love going in and seeing my favorite characters and getting to read those stories and. So, but all in all, it's the marketing I'm a little saddened by, but that's my 2 cents on that.
No, it's a good point because comic book marketing is awful in general. You're 100% right. And you started talking about it, and that reminded me. Here I am of all people, you know. And I had Jeremy Adams. He's another creator that I talked about, and we talked. He did a Marvel DC crossover this year too. There's actually 4. If you want to get down to it, you had Batman, Deadpool. You had Deadpool, Batman. We have the upcoming Spider-Man and Superman. And Rocky, you're looking like you don't even know about this. There was a digital-only Flash Fantastic Four that Jeremy Adams wrote.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. I never read that.
Yeah.
Marvel Unlimited.
Exactly. Yeah, on Marvel Unlimited. So again, and Jeremy doesn't know if it'll ever be in print. He's hoping that it will, obviously. You know, it'd be cool, you know, for him as a creator. He's done some digital Marvel work before, but to have that in print. But yeah, a lot of people that flew under a lot of people's radar because DC literally, or Marvel rather, Marvel and DC for that matter, they announced it literally on the day it was being released. Like no marketing, no promotion for it. Like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah,
that says something. I just got to say my 2 cents worth on the whole. First of all, straight up. I've been loving DC this year overall. Even though I'm physically collecting less mainstream DC, I've been loving the absolute titles. I've been feeling generally better about DC overall. I had no interest in Deadpool v Batman. And there was nothing against the concept of a Marvel DC crossover whatsoever. But very clearly it benefits Marvel more than DC because Marvel's hurting. But that's besides the point. I'm not a big fan of anthologies. Jace, you and I have talked a lot about anthologies. You and I, I think we're almost sort of hypocrites about it because on the one hand, we want more anthologies because it gives attention to maybe lesser named often creators that get their opportunities with anthologies. On the other hand, you only get like 6 or 7 page stories, and how much can really be done in 6, 7 page stories? And so when you have a Marvel DC crossover, and I'll be honest with you, the idea of Tom King, who I've got mixed feelings about on various titles. Okay, I'm not a big fan of his Wonder Woman, but I've loved most of his titles, right? The idea of Tom King writing Lois Lane, Mary Jane story, I think that would be awesome because it's out of continuity. It doesn't matter. And Tom King can do whatever the hell he does, and he can have whatever, draw them sexy, and who the hell knows what he's going to do. Maybe I'll like it, maybe I won't, but yeah, by all means do it. But if he's only going to be given 8 to 9 pages to do that, I mean, no writer. I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, yes. I don't care if you're Grant Morrison or if you're Alan Moore. What can you do in 8 to 9 pages? I mean, it's like, I mean, to me, it's like, it's not really, if you're not going to do it right, don't do it at all. What I would actually prefer an annual thing. And maybe this is slightly different than what you were thinking, Jace, is just like they had that DC had their Claus special, like they had their like Santa Claus is actually a character in the DC universe for 2 years in a row, last year and the year before. They had
get it this year.
Yeah, we had like
I'm
Batman.
angry about it.
Yeah, Batman in the Justice League, with Santa Claus and the the whole mythology of Santa Claus, and every year come out with 4 issues published weekly. Why can't they do that with DC and Marvel? I mean, they each have a multiverse. Why not have an Earth that is where both Marvel and DC characters coincide in every year over Christmas or over the summer holidays or during Free Comic Book Day during that month? During a month of May, have a Marvel DC for every week, a Marvel DC crossover. Each publication, each house publishes an issue. They each publish two, and have a crossover every year. Sort of like the classic JLA Justice Society team up. Have that every year with Marvel and DC, or every 2 years or 3 years, something like that you can look forward to and have a little fun with it, and have it be within its own continuity. So neither company needs to work around it. Like, it just with the Deadpool and Batman thing, it was all right, but honestly, I never bought a physical copy of it. Even though I like some of the stories, it wasn't a must buy for me. And plus, I'll be honest, for something that got so much hype, I don't think I'm getting the sense not a lot of people are talking about it, at least not in these parts. It was a flash in the pan. It was a flash in the pan. And that's unfortunate.
The sales on them they sold well enough, but partly because there were so many covers, and a lot of them are homage covers. But I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I even think once a year would be a little bit too much. But when I think back to the amalgam one, or the one where so we had one where they mashed them up, and we had things like Spider Boy and Thorion. Spider Boy was Superboy and Spider-Man, the Connor Kent Superboy. Then we had Thorion, which was Thor and Aryan, and we had Captain America Super Soldier or whatever, which was like Guardian and Captain America. But then we also had the one where they fought each other, like Storm versus Wonder Woman and what have you. So I think, and it was one shots, but it was a 4-issue miniseries, and then there was one shots that were like a companion piece to that. So you got a lot of content. Even doing a 4-issue, it's kind of hard. Like, you focus on two characters basically, which I guess is what they're doing now. But you get more pages. But yeah, I don't know. I go back and forth on it. It's just like I said, I like my universes separate. If you want to go back and do it the old school way, we did see this year a few comics going back to the treasury size stuff. But what's interesting is DC even did it right with their. They had a Superman Treasury edition that celebrated the movie. That was actually Treasury size. We have other oversized, like the debacle that is Hush 2 is getting oversized issues, which they're like 11.5 by 13, which is the size that the boards that they actually draw on, the artists draw on. We're getting that with Skin Breakers as well from Skybound. But I don't like that it's a different size. Like, just give me the treasury size. And you give me the treasury size, like the ones that you were holding up a little while ago, Rocky. That the bigger size, you could fit more panels on a page if you want to. Plus, it is more pages. Just do them like that if you want to do single issues. Because again, then you're going to lean into the nostalgia factor. But it is interesting to think about for sure, and we'll see if they continue to do it or not.
Even the work in progress. Absolute Batman issue 1, they put in work in progress, right? The larger size books with the. But I ended up picking it up. But when you open that book, you see every stroke of pen and marker, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I am so happy I picked up that. And that's just, I'm a fan of the Absolute Universe, and I had the opportunity to purchase one. My store only brought one in, and I saw it. I purchased it.
I want to give a quick comment to my a reference to my past. I'm holding up a Batman versus the Hulk. This was released in the fall of 1981. Marvel and DC crossover. I was only ever sick and hospitalized once during my infant and teenage life, and that was in the fall of 1981. And while I was in the hospital, my mom bought in the hospital convenience store, within the store in the hospital, sold comics. That's where they sold comics back in 1981. They sold them everywhere. You know how times have changed, right? She bought me, to cheer me up while I was in the hospital, a Batman v Hulk, and to this day, and Steve can attest, to this day, I mean, does this not look like it's in a 9.0 condition? I mean, I cherish this thing since back in 1981. Well, I was born in '69. How the hell? Well, I can't do math. Anyways, I was young, and I still have this in relatively great condition. And anyways, it's just this is why we old guys, we love our comic books, but it was special back then. It was special. When Batman himself could hold his own against the Hulk. It means something. But anyways,
Yeah, I mean, nostalgia is such a powerful drug. I mean, you want to talk about, you told the story in part one, Steve, about going into an old school comic shop and the smell of newsprint or whatever. So I know I showed you guys earlier this year. I have a Marvel Spotlight 5, which is the first appearance of Ghost Rider, and I talked also about searching for Ghost Rider.
awesome.
Yeah, Ghost Rider #1, which is, and they both are black covers, so they show every color breaking tick or whatever, it shows up whatever. And I don't have a #1 of Ghost Rider, but hopefully I'll have one soon. But I do have a Marvel Spotlight 5, but it is beat to hell. It is a reader copy, but I bought it at a comic shop where hanging from the ceiling were bare light bulbs, and the floor was just plain concrete. And I bought it for 25 cents when I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
And, beyond the fact that even though it's beat to shit, it's probably worth a couple $100. I'll never sell it, though, because Ghost Rider is one of my favorite characters. But the memory of it, so it was at this place called Atlantis Fantasy World in Santa Cruz, California. The shop is still there, but not in the same place because during the 1989 earthquake, the building was condemned. So they rebuilt down the street. But my parents went on their honeymoon to Santa Cruz, California. And if you guys are not familiar with being from Canada, it's like a beach town that has a boardwalk where there's a bunch of rides, roller coasters, and a log ride, and carousel, and if you've ever seen the movie Lost Boys, it's set in Santa Carla. Santa Carla is actually Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz is the stand-in for Santa Carla in the movie, so it's filmed in Santa Cruz. So because my parents went on their honeymoon there, we would go there just about every summer for family vacation. We would go to Santa Cruz and spend 4 or 5 days there. My parents would buy us passes, for 3 or 4 days, and we could go on the rides, and we would go to the beach and swim in the ocean and just do all kinds of cool stuff. They have a miniature golf course on the boardwalk, whatever, and it was a lot of fun. And by the time I was about 12, my parents, because it was a different time, growing up at a time when your parents would say, hey, go outside, go ride your bikes, be home before the streetlights come on, or whatever. That was the rule. Nowadays, you'd call the police if you tried to parent like that. But anyway, back then, we had a lot more freedom. And so, my parents would, because I came from a big family, 3 sisters and 2 brothers. And so the older of us, I was 12 at the time. My older brother was 13. We could go off on our own and go on the rides we wanted to go on. And my parents would have the younger 4 kids and take them on kind of the kiddie rides. So there was one day where I was supposed to be on the boardwalk riding rides with my brother, but I didn't want to be riding rides with my brother. I had $20 in my pocket, and I wanted to go to Atlantis Fantasy World because I knew it was there. I'd been there before, but it was like a little over a mile away from the boardwalk. So here I am, 12 years old, walking. And Santa Cruz can be kind of sketchy. It has a little bit of a reputation for, hippies and drug users and that kind of thing. So yeah, I walked the half an hour from the boardwalk to Atlantis Fantasy World, and they had a bunch of quarter boxes. And in those quarter boxes, they had a bunch of Marvel Spotlights with early Ghost Riders, including Marvel Spotlight 5, and a bunch of early Ghost Riders. And Ghost Rider was one of my favorite characters, and I bought so many. I bought $20 worth, basically. Nearly $20, almost all Ghost Riders. So then I had this giant stack of comics, but I had to hide it like the rest of the time we were there and sneak it into my bag. My parents didn't know that I'd gone, because otherwise I'd been like, where'd these comics come from? But yeah, that's where I bought it for 25 cents back in 1986, 85, 86, for a quarter. For a quarter.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so that, I will never sell that. Never. Like, it doesn't matter. I'll be living in my car, and that'll be the one comic I still have, is my Marvel Spotlight 5. And it wasn't just Marvel Spotlight 5. I think I have a 6 and an 8 and a 9. Yeah, a lot of his early first appearances. I got a Ghost Rider #2 and a 5. A bunch of early issues. So, anyway, that's my Ghost Rider story. That's the book that means a heck of a lot to me, and I'm so close to having that Ghost Rider 1.
I got a quick story. It won't take long. I can always tell my early reading copies of George Perez and Marv Wolfman's Teen Titans. The reading copies, the ones I bought off the shelf, are in terrible condition. And but even I could immediately identify them anywhere at any time because I'd always read comic books as I'm sipping my Coke, and I'd read my comics, and every single one of them has a little bit of a Coke stain because I would sip and I'd get excited and I'd drop Coke from my lips, and I'd always leak Coke. And there's a Coke stain on the cover or on the pages of individual pages of the Teen Titans Warm Wolfman, and I could always tell, like I got Coke stains on the pages. So it's so easy to identify my particular issues. If I ever become famous, which I won't, I'll be the old guy yelling at clouds guy. But if I have an evergreen collection, it'll be like Coke stains on my early comics from the '80s. It's just funny, but that's just the way it is. And you know, I'm always amazed.
The CGC Rocky pedigree.
That's exactly right.
He'll have his own custom CGC label. His own custom CGC label that'll have Coke stains on it.
Conservatively at a value of $10,000. Okay.
Yeah, it'll have some.
I watch a lot of.
It'll have a
British,
picture of Rocky's face and some Coke stains on it. That'll be his custom CGC label.
There you go.
Well, there's a couple of other things I want to talk. I want to talk about any biggest surprises we had for 2025. Anything we're looking forward to for 2026. But one last thing regarding Marvel before that, and this kind of ties into what we were talking about with Marvel not having the best quality right now, and the absolute titles selling really well. You know, if there are books over at Marvel that are selling well right now, it's their Ultimate line. Now, the sales on the Ultimate line have taken a little bit of a dip lately, and I think it's because they announced that they're ending. There was rumors that it was ending earlier in the year, rumors that it was going to end at the beginning of next year with the Ultimate End series. And the rumors came out about that, and Marvel kind of, no, it's not going to come to an end, whatever. And then it's been confirmed within the last couple of months that, yes, the Ultimate line is coming to an end. This was always planned to be a finite thing from Jonathan Hickman. I sort of feel like it should be, just the nature of it. And I talked to Chris Condon about this when he came on for his Fireside Chat, because he's writing Ultimate Wolverine. The challenge of having it be in real time, so there's a month between each issue, which makes it feel kind of choppy and that you're missing out on stuff. But Hickman wanting to do like a story that had a beginning, middle, and end. But we also know that Michael Bendis is coming back to Marvel. And I speculated as soon as it was announced, Rocky, you remember this, I said he's going to start a new Ultimate Universe because he was the guy that wrote his first Marvel work, his first superhero work was on Ultimate Spider-Man, which blew up in 2000. That was the year 2000. Yeah. It blew up, and it's still, a relatively beloved run. So I think that's what's going to happen. They're going to do a different version of Ultimate because they can't leave that money on the table. It's too popular. So that's what I'm expecting. Michael Bendis is going to come back. They already announced him doing like an Avengers one shot, but I think he's going to show run a new Ultimate Universe and write at least one of the titles. It doesn't necessarily have me excited. I love Michael Bendis as a person, and in terms of his excitement for comics is really, really infectious. But it's been a long time since he's written something that I really, really enjoyed at one of the big two. I love his Joy Operations book that he did. He did a couple volumes of that at Dark Horse. I really enjoyed that. But it was for something that I talk about a lot when we talk about independent books, because I don't know what to expect because they're not characters that I'm familiar with. But when he does a team book and everybody's got to say something in every panel and everybody speaks with the same voice in terms of you could interchange the balloons and it doesn't really matter. Like, those are some things that don't work for me. Plus, I just didn't care for his Superman run, and his thoughts on Lois and Clark's relationship. I mean, I had him on the show and we talked about it, for God's sake. He has a much different relationship with his wife than I have with my wife, and that's reflected in him writing Lois and Clark's relationship the way he did, and me disliking it the way that I did. So, how do you guys feel about Bendis coming back? How do you feel about the Ultimate line ending? You think it's the right choice for Marvel? And how do you feel about Bendis coming back for a new Ultimate Universe?
I think the Ultimate, there's some big names there, so I think it's almost like a financial thing, and I do think Marvel is struggling. Like, even if you go and look at all their other titles, they've got so many books. I mean, they spread their X-Men over what?
We have the Age of
7 to
Revelation
10
book
seven
event going
to
on right
10
now. They're putting
different
out like
books.
20 X-Men books.
Right. And then you have this Ultimate line, which is, it's great, but you've got some serious money probably tied up in it because, you know, you got Peach Momoko, you know, she's having a hot year, and, you know, you got the X-Men. There's just so much money tied up. And is Marvel ending it because they're looking at their dollars and saying, like, how long can we ride this out?
No, they're
and
ending
we
it
got to do
because
something different.
They signed a contract with Hickman, and
You know?
Hickman gets to call the shots on that Ultimate Universe, and he wants to stick to his original plan. And this was his original plan, that it was going to be finite.
So, yeah.
So they can either honor the contract, or they can continue it without Hickman, like the way they continue the Krakoan era of X-Men without Hickman, which we could, you know, that's a whole nother podcast to argue, to talk and analyze
Yes, it
how
is.
well that was. Did it work without Hickman or not? So I think that was the point, right? They were like, okay, what do we do? Do we continue it without Hickman and probably get diminishing returns, but we can milk it for a while? Or do we try to go get another big name creator to run an Ultimate line? And I think that's probably when they went to Bendis. Well, Bendis is not doing much these days. Let's go ask him. Because you can try to appeal to the nostalgia. There's that word again. You can go to the people that bought Ultimate Spider-Man in 2000, 2001, and they'll be like, oh, Bendis is back. Bendis is launching a new Marvel universe called Ultimate, where I don't have to know anything about anything, just like with Absolute. So I think Marvel is trying to go back to Bendis because it's been successful in the past, and they're trying to, you know, emulate DC, how the tables have turned, and give us a new jumping on point, a new Ultimate universe. Will it work?
Will it work?
I mean, does this excite you, Steve?
It doesn't. I think right now, like I'm purchasing so much Marvel, and it's one area that I really need to cut because I'm purchasing more DC. And
what are you buying from
Marvel?
What are you buying from Marvel?
People really need a jumping on point, and I think DC did it very successfully with the Absolute Universe.
Well, this will be a jumping
on point. The Ultimate Universe is that, but it's still convoluted because you go pick up an Ultimate Universe book, and guess what? You can go into those bins in the $3 bins or whatever, and there's still more Ultimate books. So it's as a reader coming on, it's what is this? I thought I was buying the Ultimate book, and now you're telling me there's more Ultimate books? You mean Miles Morales didn't come? I thought he was from an Ultimate. You know what I mean? Marvel is such a disaster right now. Is such a mess. I think they just need to pull a plug on a lot of different things and kickstart a whole new genre of books. And I don't know if this will be. If this is the answer. Hopefully it is.
Yeah, I think that's because I mean, Hickman, really, this is the culmination of things he'd been building for a long time, right? Because you're right, this Ultimate Universe is very complicated. It goes back and mines things from Ultimate Fantastic Four, The Maker, his Secret Wars run. It's not new reader friendly at all, this current version of the Ultimate Universe. But I think the Bendis one will be. I really do, because I think, again, they're looking over at Marvel and they're just drooling at the sales that they see Marvel. So we'll get Rocky's take in a second, but I do want to ask you, Steve, you mentioned buying a bunch of Marvel books. So you're buying, what, X-Men, a lot of the X-Men stuff? What else?
Well, it's tough. X-Men is tough because it's spread across, I don't know, how many titles right now. You know, like, it's all over the place. Amazing Spider-Man. I'm very glad that you pointed me in the direction to, like, hey, why don't you get caught up with Hulk? You know, and literally in 2 days, I read that. Was it 25, 30 story arc of Hulk? And I tell you what, the art in that was phenomenal.
You're talking about Philip Kennedy Johnson and Nick Klein, the Incredible Hulk, that line? And then leading into it, Hulk.
And I pulled away from the Hulk because of the last volume. And you did talk about this. I don't know if this was in our first episode or this episode, but we talk about Marvel doing, they got another number one issue. But I do like that Marvel does kind of somewhat end, a creator has an idea. They kind of fulfill that idea, that storyline. It kind of ends, and you get a new number one, and it's not a great jumping on point, but it's a start for some readers that you could probably pick up a number one, and you're going to get some tidbits of this and that to say, yeah, you need to go back to the last volume to really get the whole story, but you can still jump on at a number one issue, and you'll get it. But
Phil Kennedy Johnson, another guest on the
that Hulk run was phenomenal.
Yeah, Fireside Chat, Infernal Hulk. We talk about it. So yeah. All right, what else?
And I really look forward to see where they're going with the character, because the way it ended was holy crap. Yeah. And I haven't started Infernal Hulk. I mean, we're 2 issues in?
Yep.
But they're sitting in my read list. The problem is I get home and it's DC, DC, DC.
What else? What else besides X-Men, Hulk, and Amazing Spider-Man? Anything else? Daredevil, Captain
Amazing
America,
Spider-Man. Black Cat. Black Cat's been something else that I've been enjoying. Daredevil, Moon Knight, Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance,
Immortal Thor.
Immortal Thor. I haven't got. I finished the last volume. I haven't started the new volume. And that was another. The Thor, you got this great character, and they're jumping all over, and they had, father time, and they had these great concepts, but then I felt like they kind of jumped all over, and then you get the last couple issues, and spoiler alert, I mean, it's been a while, and Loki comes back, and it's, and now we got a dead Thor, and how are we going to bring Thor back? And it's like, oh my goodness, Marvel, it's just a giant mess. Every time I'm just like, I'm reading these books and I'm just, Marvel, what are you doing? Like, seriously.
Yeah, so I'm buying Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Black Panther. I was buying Iron Man, even though I thought it was only okay, from Spencer Ackerman. I am getting, did I say Amazing Spider-Man? Yeah, Amazing Spider-Man and Hulk. And the Captain, and Zdarsky's Captain America. I fell off Daredevil, but I'll pick Daredevil.
Captain America is good.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'll start Daredevil back up with Stephanie Phillips. Infernal Hulk, I'll definitely be buying Joshua Williamson's Iron Man run. Iron Man's one of his favorite characters. I'm a fan of Josh. But yeah, I'm not reading any of the X-Men stuff. I dropped Miles Morales because it just didn't feel like it was going anywhere. It felt like I was treading water to some extent. So yeah, I'm not buying
sorry that you brought up the Iron Man. I love the whole Iron Man and Emma Frost.
Yeah.
Is that a good storyline? Yeah.
Oh, I love the storyline. I thought it was fantastic. I mean, you got billionaire, I can help the mutants. They've got to go into hiding. You got one guy that I love the whole storyline. And then same thing, but it only lasted a little bit. And then they move so fast and they move on. Even Amazing Spider-Man, right? He gets they introduce some new villain, they uncover in some sarcophagus, and he gets there. I can't think of what the new villain that they've announced for the Amazing Spider-Man. And they get in a tilt. He gets punched and he gets blasted out into some oddly world. And he's left all to himself. Peter Parker's left on this planet all by himself. And I thought hey, this is he's gonna get in touch with his true instincts, his arachnid instincts. He's gonna hone in on what it truly means to be a Spider-Man. It lasted maybe 6 pages, and he gets picked up by some spaceship, and he's off into space, and he's on another, seriously, 6 panels. And I was so enjoying that one story arc. It's 6 panels it lasted. And then he's gone. Marvel, what are you doing?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Right, give us your thoughts, Rocky. Bendis coming back, launching a new Ultimate Universe.
First I got to say that a couple of years ago, my last official Marvel comic was when Marvel canceled Daredevil and then started the Devil's Reign series to finish that arc with, I think Wilson Fisk was the Kingpin was the mayor. I stopped collecting Daredevil. They canceled Daredevil to go into Devil's Reign. I never bought any Devil's Reign. That was my last Marvel comic. Period. I then started collecting the Ultimate titles, and I personally really enjoyed the Ultimate titles. Now I'm 12 months behind on reading them. I've collected them all. I've got the floppies, so they're all there, and I've been enjoying them. I'm behind. I'm way behind, but I've been enjoying them. I find them accessible. I find them easy to read, which is a little bit contradictory to what you guys have said. I don't find that I'm lost reading it. I find it easy to understand. I feel that I'm involved in the Ultimate universe. I don't need to be tied up. I don't need to know any of the mainstream Marvel continuity. I don't know it anyway, and I don't feel I need to know it. And I like it that way. All I need to know is the maker is in control of this, and he's trying to warp things the way he wants. And I've been enjoying it. And I love the fact that Hickman has put his foot down and said, screw you. You, Marvel, you screwed me over on Hawkspox, which, by the way, I tried to get into Hawkspox. I collected the first, the 6 issues of Hawks, the 6 issues of Powers of 10, House of 10, whatever, House of X, Powers of X, whatever you want to call it. And then they blanched off to how many multiple different variations of X titles. Completely lost me. I still don't know how it ended. I think Hickman was pissed off. This is me speculating. I'm an old man yelling at clouds again. I think Hickman got pissed off. I think Hickman wisely said on the Ultimate titles, look, okay, you guys, I gave you the Krakoa era. You screwed that up. Thank you very much. Yeah. I'm going to give you the Ultimate titles. This is what I expect. And I think he talked to his lawyer and said, make this airtight. I want this to end like this. I think that's what really happened. Again, this is just me, old man, lawyer, by the way, yelling at clouds. Hickman's no dummy. And I think that's what he's done. And he says, this is a story that I want to end it the way I want to end it. And I applaud him for it. And I'm enjoying the Ultimate titles. And by the way, remember what happened to the original Ultimate Marvel line? It went out with a whimper. It was pathetic the way it went out. It was so popular at one point, and then it petered out. It completely petered out because they watered it down and they watered it down.
They made the mistake that so many readers are clamoring for in the Absolute Universe. They didn't take their time, and eventually the Ultimate Universe, because it kept bringing in all the other characters. You had taken whatever it was, 40 years, let's say, 2000, say 1960 to 2000, 40 years to build up this library and stable of characters in the main universe of Marvel, and then it comes along in and absolute, all right, the Ultimate Universe is doing well, and everybody's like, oh, but what about the Kraven? What about the Ultimate Green Goblin? What about this? What about this? And they just pretty soon they weren't different anymore. They were the same, and that's what and sales started to fall because it wasn't anything special anymore.
Yeah, and I just as a quick segue, Snyder has said about the Absolute DC universe. They don't want to rush into events. They want to let Kelly Thompson tell her Absolute Wonder Woman story. Let Al Ewing tell his Absolute Green Lantern story. Jeff Lemire with an Absolute Flash. Snyder wants to develop his Absolute Batman. In other words, if this isn't broken, don't purport to fix it. Let it flow. Don't worry about a big event. If issue 15 is selling as many copies as issue 1, you don't need a big event. Who wants a big event? I mean, listen to the fans. Again, it's just using common sense. And Marvel saying, everyone's all upset, Marvel, ending the Ultimate line and et cetera, et cetera. Of course they're going to bring it back. They want to bring something back even better. I think it's just to appease Hickman. I don't think they got a choice, frankly. I think they got to appease Hickman for other reasons. But I think it's going to be a good story. It's going to end with a bang. Now with Bendis coming back, I think that's a lot of hype there. I feel I want to express my bias up front. I'm the guy that loved the fact that Bendis is coming to DC. I had such high hopes. I think Bendis was the worst thing that happened to DC in the history of DC Comics.
Whoa.
I'm pretty sure that's number one. I'm serious.
Wow.
I think he did. DC is still trying to repair the damage done from him. They had to undo the secret identity thing. They had to undo that. They're still trying to work to undo the John Kent thing. They're still trying to undo that. They're minimizing John Kent for a reason. All of this is really, you can relate. All of DC's problems go back to the Bendis era. This we could talk for. This is a separate podcast, but let's just say that I think Bendis did harm to DC. And it wasn't by intention. He just did.
I can feel the heat.
So now him with Marvel, but Bendis does have a better feel for Marvel characters. He's got an affiliation with those characters. He's got a fan base with those characters. He just has a better fit for those characters. I personally, some of my favorite comics that I've ever read were written by Bendis at Marvel. So I'm not putting down the man. I'm just saying how I felt about what he brought to DC. That's all. And so I personally, I have no problem looking forward. I'm looking forward to the ending of Ultimate Marvel, and I'm looking forward to the beginning of a new Ultimate Universe under Bendis. I am. Because I think that's his wheelhouse. I think that's where he really shines. That's where his skill set really shine. That's where he made a name for himself, and that's where I think he's going to end his career. Quite frankly.
Fair enough.
There you go.
Fair enough. All right. Biggest surprise of 2025. Anything that jumps out? I don't really have anything that jumps out. I mean, there's some indie titles that came, that debuted in 2025 that I really enjoyed. That maybe I didn't expect to enjoy as much as I did. I don't know. That's like a huge surprise. If I had to pick something, maybe the biggest surprise is just how successful the Absolute line has been. Because while I expected it to do okay, I didn't expect Batman 15 to sell 400,000 copies. And it's been crazy how successful that line has been. I certainly didn't predict 10 printings for Absolute Batman #1. But I'll shout out Power Fantasy from Kieran Gillen. Dust to Dust from J.G. Jones has been fantastic. Tin Can Society, Peter Warren, as some real highlights from the independent stuff. What about you, Steve? Biggest surprise for 2025?
I'm just... we had a horrible storm the other night, and so... Yeah. I had planned to do, because you guys kind of give me a little bit of a heads up that, hey, let's try to get together and have a chat. And so I thought I took today off to kind of compile my thoughts and go through, what I've read in the last year. But unfortunately, I was picking up a giant mess that was left over from the giant storm. But even just top of my head, I'm like, was Grommets released this year?
I think the final issue came out this year, yeah.
Grommets was one that really, I really enjoyed. Minor Arcana, I think that's Jeff Lemire.
Yep.
I mean, that's another book right now that as soon as it drops, I'm like, what's going on with these characters? I am so invested. This year was the first year I picked something is Killing the Children. I have not read a single issue of that, and so this was the first year that I did a deep dive into that, and so holy moly, what a series is being told there. All in all, like the indie world right now, and that's what I love about, you go into your comic shop and you find these people picking up and they're enjoying this Absolute universe, but it's nice to just say like, hey, give this one a ride. The independent stuff is so great right now.
Yeah, no doubt. Grommets is fantastic. You're right. That's a great series.
Bug Wars. Bug Wars is another. I mean,
Jason Aaron.
Yes, yeah. I mean, and what I loved about reading that one is, I mean, we know he was writing Superman, Absolute Superman, and what I loved is I think that Superman stuff is some of his greatest stuff. I mean, Superman's not an easy character to write. If I had to write, there's so many years behind that. I think Jason Aaron is killing it. I'm absolutely loving what he's doing with that character. And then he's on the backside, he's doing a project that he's wanted to do for so long, and this Bug Wars, and then it's just an expedition in a backyard with bugs and this and that, and what I love is I'm so invested, and then he announces, "Oh, I'm going to have a one shot." Well, what's the one shot? Is it going to be before? Is it going to come the story going to come before what you just told? Is it going to come after what you just told? What characters are going to be involved? I'm loving it. Skinbreaker is another one.
Fantastic art on that one.
Oh, Finch is knocking it right. I mean, I that's another title that's definitely on my pull list. I'm just loving that independent. All as much as I can get, so much as I can. If I had more money, I'd be reading it all. That's
yeah, money and time. That's how we get limited. What about you, Rocky?
I actually prepared for this. I could easily rattle off. I actually have 21 things written down. I'm not going to mention them all. Don't worry. I want to caveat this with just a story about the creators, the people that make the comic books that we know and love. And I said this at during one of the weeks that we reviewed DC Comics, Jace, and it was at Calgary Comic Con when I spoke to Jason Aaron, and I told him that I had read the advanced copy of the first appearance of the Absolute Brainiac.
Yep.
And I'll never forget how concerned he was. He looked genuinely worried. Worried. Not concerned, worried. What did you think? What did you think? And he's looking at me, eye to eye. He wanted to know what I thought. He cared. And I say it that way because, these creators take a lot of slack. I remember reading the last issue of Jason Aaron's Punisher, and boy, did he take a lot of slack for his Punisher, because it wasn't the Garth Ennis Punisher. This was a Frank Castle that, God forbid, was always revealed to be a guy that was liked violence, that he wasn't a good husband, that he wasn't a good man, that he was prone to violence, which really anybody with an IQ above 10 should figure out. No shit, Sherlock. He's Punisher. He likes to kill people. The fact that he kills bad guys doesn't mean that he's not a jerk. But this really seemed to offend a lot of people's sensibilities. I'm defending him, obviously. But my point is that if you can, these guys care about what they write, and they care about what people think, and they also know that people don't like what they write all the time. And it was one of the things that really stood out for me this year in general is that meeting a lot of creators at Calgary Comic Con, San Diego, and meeting more and more through yourself, Jace, and just in social media generally, is that, they care what people think. They care what people think. And in any event, biggest surprise is the Absolute titles. And I said that as a segue into that. Absolute Superman was fantastic. And it was good because they got creators that care. I also think of the story of Kelly Thompson. Kelly Thompson writing Absolute Wonder Woman. I had doubts about Absolute Wonder Woman. I never gave the first issue much thought. I didn't think it was particularly good. I was wrong. She just won me over through strong storytelling. And then Kelly Thompson repeatedly telling the story that at one point she was contemplating calling Scott Snyder and saying, "Scott, I'm sorry, I don't have any ideas for this. I don't have any ideas." She was that far away from not writing the story she wanted to tell. But she decided that, she didn't call him. She came up with an idea and she went with it. She took a risk. That's what these creators do. And I don't think they give enough, I don't think they're given enough credit for what they have to do. And in the face of social media that exists nowadays on this planet, with the backlash can be unbelievable, to have the wherewithal to say, you know what, I'm going to go with my ideas and have faith in what my idea is. And there's no guarantee that anybody will like it. And it really, really changes the perspective. And just as a general comment, and just to overshare a little bit here, one of the reasons why I've evolved as a reviewer and I say this a little bit tongue in cheek because I know I can be a little bit over ranting at times and what have you. It does actually affect me. You know what? It does have an effect. If I'm ranting about a creator or something and I meet them in person and I realize how much passion and effort and thought they put into their creative work, you better believe it affects the way that I think of them. It does affect my reviews. And I'm not saying it makes me change my point of view, but it makes me realize that there's different ways of looking at the world. And in this day and age, more than ever before, we need to understand that there are different views of looking at the world, and comic books are a channel in which we can do that. And we ought to be able to look at somebody's view of the world, the way they tell a story, and be less scathing and critical of how they see the world, and maybe make more of an attempt to see the world through their eyes. And that's one of the things that I got the most out of this year, not just because I got to collaborate with yourself, Jace, and Steve, and had the wonderful moments we have just as friends, but just also meeting the creators behind the stories that we talk about and rant about and rave about, is that, you know, it's no surprise that, isn't it interesting that some of the most memorable stories are the ones we don't like? Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Or isn't it interesting that some of the stories that we like, that we talk about the most, are the ones we love, or the ones we don't like, or the ones like? And I always say that the best writers are the ones that are the most divisive. Guess what? Tom King, I'm not a fan of his Wonder Woman. I'm not. You know that. We joke about it. But man, I love Tom King's Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. I love his Christopher Chance. I love his Human Target. I love his I love his Sheriffs of Babylon or his Omega Men. That's the wonderful thing about writing. And so I didn't mean to get off the beaten path like that, but I think the biggest surprise this year for me was just so many titles that sort of came under the radar, and I'm just going to rattle them off. Two-Face by Christian Ward. I saw Two-Face in a different light. Batman Dark Patterns by Dan Waters and Hayden Sherman. Yeah. I thought Hayden Sherman's best work was Absolute Wonder Woman. It's not. It's Batman Dark Patterns. Check it out. Batman and Robin by PKJ. DC, you lost the future legend there. He's off at Marvel right now, and I have to check out Infernal Hulk. That's one way to pull me over to Marvel. Batman Year One, Mark Waid, Chris Samney. Fantastic job making me reevaluate the early years of Batman and Robin. Resurrection Man, Quantum Karma by Ram V. Just made me look at that particular character in a different light. It's really well done. Zatanna by Jamal Campbell. There's a reason why he's going to be coming back in February with DC Next Level. Fantastic work. He draws a sexy Zatanna. I'm all about TNA. I'm a Purian fanboy. I'm an old man yelling at clouds. Show me TNA and then show me great character work on top of it. I'm in. Thank you, Jamal Campbell. G.I. Joe. I mean, I was never a fan of G.I. Joe, and I have, you know what? I traded the original G.I. Joe run for an old statue I traded it for an old statue of, what's that, sexy, oh man, it doesn't matter. I traded it for a stupid statue. I've made dumb decisions in my comic book life. Anyways, Absolute Martian Manhunter and Green Lantern and Absolute Flash, I think, are underrated. I think that they're gonna pay dividends in the long run. All the Distillery titles, no one's talking about Distillery. And I think that all the titles by Distillery, Jace, we reviewed so many titles by Distillery. They're all amazing. And yet I think that because they're in that different format and they're differently priced, I don't think they're getting enough attention. All the Distillery titles, Google it, people. It's fantastic. The Supergirl movie trailer, I think, looks fantastic. I think that it's incorporating anybody who's read Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. When you watch the Supergirl movie trailer, I think you're automatically going to see Tom King's influence. And I think that I suspect it's going to be a sleeper hit. I really, really do. And I'm making a prediction now. And of course I could be wrong. And yes, I'm biased because I love the run. I love Tom King's story, but I do think Supergirl will do better at the box office than Superman did. I really do. I know it's sacrilege for me to say.
No chance.
I'm saying it will. I'm calling it. I'm calling it now. You can hold me accountable. I have no problem being held accountable. I just think I love the trailer. It looks fantastic. Other sleeper hits, Poison Ivy. J. Willow Wilson, you're doing an amazing job. And Jace, when you talked about Poison Ivy, Pamela Isley being mayor of Gotham City, I think that's an inspired choice. I'm looking forward to that. Crypto, last log of Krypton. I don't like dogs. I don't like pets. I don't like. My wife just got an aquarium with fish. 2 of her fish just died. I had a hard time consoling her because I don't care about fish either. This is just the way I am. This is the way I'm built. But somehow Ryan North made me care about a dog from another planet. Superman Treasury Edition 2025, great. Batman Second Night by Dan Jurgens and Mike Perkins. By the way, Dan Jurgens has had a fantastic year. Dan Jurgens has had a fantastic year between his Batman Second Night, his Superman Treasury Editions. DC, don't forget about Dan Jurgens. This guy knows Superman better than anybody. Detective Comics by Tom Taylor. I think he's nailed it with Batman. I love it. And with Mikel Janin's art. Minor Arcana, Likey Devils with Charles Soule, and the Tin Can Society I loved. And that wraps up my 21. Sorry to take up so much time there, Jace, but
a lot of those, really a lot of those I enjoy as well. I just don't think they're necessarily like I expect to enjoy what Charles Soule is doing. It's not necessarily a surprise. So.
Well, they were surprise hits to me. They were surprised because I don't expect them to stand out to me. Like, I wasn't expecting them to stand out. They just resonated with me personally more than I thought they would, and that's why I just felt I needed to call them out.
Fair enough. All right, everybody, let's give the up-to-date standing. So, as we're recording this, not all the fights for round 2 have happened, but as this will be released, they all will have happened. So we can talk about who's won what, right? So we've talked it before. I'll just remind everybody. First round, 16 fights. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of the 16 correct. Rocky only has 2, 4, 6, 8 correct. So he got half of them right. And then Steve, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So Steve's in the lead with 11 correct for the first round. I'm coming in second at 10. Rocky only has 8 for the second round. So I had Superman versus Power Girl, but it was actually Superman versus Captain Atom. But I do have Superman winning. So I get a point there. I have Guy Gardner versus Cheetah, but it's actually Guy Gardner versus Jay Garrick. Guy Gardner does win, so I get a point there. Aquaman versus Hawkman. Aquaman versus Hawkman. Aquaman wins. I get a point there. I had Lex Luthor versus Supergirl, but it was actually Lex Luthor versus the Demon. Lex Luthor wins. I picked Luthor. I get a point there. Wonder Woman versus Lobo. Wonder Woman wins. I get a point there. I had Swamp Thing versus Batwoman, but it was actually Swamp Thing versus Cyborg, and Cyborg does win, so I don't get a point there. Starfire versus Damian Wayne. I didn't get either one of those correct because it didn't even end up being Starfire against Batman. It was Starfire against Joker.
Yeah.
And Damian Wayne did not defeat Red Hood either. So it was actually Joker versus... so this one should be Joker versus Red Hood. Joker wins. Yeah. So I mean, I don't have that because I don't have either one of them. And then Zatanna versus Harley Quinn. Zatanna won. I picked Harley Quinn. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 correct in the second round. So not great, but when we talk about Rocky, who only had 8 correct in the first round anyway, so he's already behind. Yeah. He had Superman versus Power Girl as well instead of Captain Atom, but he did pick Superman, so he gets a point there. He had Guy Gardner versus Cheetah as well, which same as me, but he picked Cheetah to win. Cheetah didn't even make it to that round, so he's wrong there. Aquaman versus Hawkman, he had that correct. He had that matchup correct, but he picked Hawkman. So he loses there. He didn't have Lex Luthor advancing past the first round. He had Black Lightning. So he had Black Lightning versus Supergirl when it was actually, that round was actually Lex Luthor versus the Demon. So no chance to get that one right. He did pick Supergirl, but, that was not correct. Did have Wonder Woman versus Lobo, got both those, and did pick Wonder Woman, so got a point there. He had Swamp Thing versus Batwoman, just like I did. Unlike me, who picked Batwoman, he picked Swamp Thing, but Swamp Thing loses to Cyborg, so he didn't get a point there either. He had Batman versus Red Hood. Again, no fault of our own that all of us have Batman instead of Joker. But he did pick Red Hood. It is the Joker that wins that matchup, which, again, he didn't have Joker. None of us could get that one right because none of us have Joker. And then the final one is Barda versus Metamorpho, which Barda was incorrect and Metamorpho was incorrect. Neither one of them got out of the first round, so he had no chance there. So Rocky's got 2 correct in the second round. not the way to catch up, my man. And then we come to Steve. Steve had it correct. Superman versus Captain Atom, and he picked Superman. He had Guy Gardner versus Jay Garrick. Correct. And he got Guy Gardner. He had Aquaman versus Hawkman. And he picked Aquaman. He did not have Luthor versus the Demon. But he did have Luthor versus Supergirl, but he did pick Luthor, so he gets that one correct. He did have Wonder Woman versus Lobo correct. The matchup was correct, and he picked Wonder Woman, so he's got that winner. He had Vixen instead of Swamp Thing, so he didn't have that right. So he had Vixen versus Cyborg, but he picked Cyborg, so he got that one correct. And then, as I said, none of us had Joker, so he had Batman versus Red Hood, and he picked Batman to win, so he couldn't get that. And he also had Barda versus Metamorpho. Neither one of those characters made it to the second round, so he couldn't pick correctly there. He picked Metamorpho. That's not a point either. So he got 6 correct. So he had a 1 point, a one pick lead on me in the first round. He got a 1 pick lead for me on the second round, so he now leads by 2. He now leads by 2 against me, who's in second place. Rocky has 10 correct total, which the 10 picks that I got in the first round ties Rocky, and Steve beats Rocky just with his picks in the first round. So, but I will say this: when I go to score this at the end, we're doing what's called I can't remember, carry forward scoring, which when I do the picks, so the picks in the later rounds are worth more points than the picks in the early rounds. So, if Rocky can get as many picks as he possibly can right in the second round, which is going to be tough because, he's got Hawkman versus Supergirl. Neither one of them made it. Wow. He's got Red Hood versus Barda. Neither one of them made it. So it's going to be a little bit tougher for him to get more. But he's got a chance to at least close the gap, as it were. But Steve, you're crushing it, dude. You're ahead of me by 2 and ahead of Rocky by higher than I can count.
So I have to ask you both, if you have to pick who's going to win this tournament, now that we know what we know, who do you pick?
With the solicit of Aquaman having Omega Energy? I still...
Hey, even with that, what do you think?
In my heart, I want it to be Aquaman. So even though I love Superman, he's my favorite comic book character, but I want it to be Aquaman. But I still think that Superman wins. I still think it's Superman that wins.
Okay. Yeah. I actually agree with you 100%, Jace. I think that...
But you guys both pick Wonder Woman to win. But now you're changing your team.
I did. But, the truth is that when we were doing our thing is that, look, Scott Snyder, before we did our pick, Scott Snyder made it very clear that this is a Superman story. So if I was betting my mortgage and my house on it, I would have said Superman's going to win. The truth of the matter is that, I think it makes more sense I really, truly, genuinely believe that Wonder Woman is the best warrior in the DC universe. I always have believed that, and I still stick with that stand. But having said that, given the existing continuity, the way the stories have been told, and given just Aquaman and the way Jeremy Adams has developed him, and quite frankly, Aquaman is in need of a power-up anyway. And it would make more sense for this to be an Aquaman story than a Superman story. This doesn't need to be a Superman story. It really doesn't need to be a Superman story. And also, I love Scott Snyder. I got to give a shout out to him because even when I was just a guy yelling at clouds with no collaboration with anybody, he would text me after. He would watch my reviews and text me when I was reviewing his Justice League titles. And he when Justice League and Doom and Doom, when the world chose Doom over Justice, and I complained about that, he texted me and explained his reasoning. He actually seemed to give a crap what some lowly guy on a YouTube channel thought, and he texted me and he gave me his opinion. He defended his position, and I thought that was awesome. And I did it. And so I really respect that. I love his interaction with the fan base. And so when he says that, that death metal was a Wonder Woman story, I don't think it was a particularly great Wonder Woman story insofar as how it reflected the best aspects of Wonder Woman. But I love the fact that he defends his position, because he's like he's like your best friend that you're arguing with in the background in the schoolyard about, oh, no, you're wrong. Wonder Woman can't beat so and so. It's the classic stuff that we love as adults. We go to work during the day. Doesn't matter what we do, we come back and we get to argue. We get to argue superhero who's stronger. It's awesome stuff, and that's what I love about Scott Snyder. He loves the passion of it. He loves and he loves defending his position. And of course, he gets the advantage because he gets to write the stories. But I love the fact that he says that this is a Superman story. It's a Superman story, but at the end of the day, I really think Aquaman ought to win. I think it makes more interesting if Aquaman wins. But I also understand that from a corporate standpoint, they need Superman to win. They need Superman to win because Superman is the North Star of the DC universe. So he's the North Star. He's the guy that can't be corrupted. He's the one guy that can disrupt the narrative that, only the most corrupt person can win and become King Omega. Superman, of course, winning disrupts the narrative, right? Oh, no, but I'm Superman. I can pretend to be corrupt and I can come back from being corrupted and overcome the Omega particle influence because I can overcome kryptonite. No, I can overcome anything because I'm Superman. And if I'm pure of soul and I'm just filled with love and compassion, I can overcome anything. So I get the narrative. I get it. I do. At the same time, I mean, I get it. I just respectfully sort of disagree with it. And I think Aquaman needs to be the one that wins it. I think it would be more cool if Aquaman won it. And quite frankly, I don't see it happening now with him being Emperor Aquaman, because I don't think that's the image that DC wants to project. They don't want an Emperor Aquaman being the guy that wins the DC KO tournament. They want it to be Superman, and they want to tease Superman being corrupted even though he isn't, and it just fits the narrative better. But anyways, it doesn't really matter. I love the fact that it sets up a perfect argument. And for those of us on YouTube that read comics, what we argue about, like right now, those are the fun arguments that are harmless. Let's argue about who's stronger in comic books, Superman or Batman or Aquaman, as opposed to who's right, left or right, or Republican or Democrat or liberal or conservative, whether you're in whatever country politics you are. Let's have the fights that don't matter, that are just for fun, because that's what comic books are. They're fun, and this is a distraction. This is escapism, and this is why we read comics.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Jeremy Adams was running the event, then for sure Aquaman would win. But I don't disagree.
Oh.
I mean, and again, we can still make the argument for it, right? Well, he's got Omega energy, and that allows him to be an emperor and go out among the stars. And Superman is missing, maybe because he got killed, during the DCKO event, and he wasn't resurrected for some reason along with everybody else, and Aquaman doesn't know why. That's interesting. That's got potential. Do I think it'll happen? Nah, I don't think it'll happen. I think it'll still be Superman that wins. But I agree that it would be more interesting if like I said, if Jeremy Adams was running this event, I think it would be Aquaman. You had something else you wanted to say, Steve?
Yes. So I don't know what issue it was in, but I'm pretty sure Aquaman just took a solid punch from Superman.
He did.
Right?
But Aquaman's not
right. And right? And then I was like, is this foreshadowing? Like I know for the fact they've announced this DC KO, right? And I'm reading this stuff and I'm like, did that just happen? And it did. I'm going to go with Aquaman. I really do think Superman, they can't, I mean, to gain this Omega energy, we know they're going to have to do something that is just truly unbelievable. And quite frankly, as a true believer in Superman, I hope they don't go there, right? I mean, we're kind of seeing it, but you're gonna to gain the Omega energy, you're gonna have to do something And I really, truly believe it's going to get down to the point now is Aquaman's willing to do what it takes. And Superman's just going to say, you took my punch earlier. Do it. You earn this. And Aquaman is going to be, he's going to be crowned the champion. That's my new pick with all the material that we have laid out before us.
All right.
Who really represents the Earth? Aquaman, who is the king of 70% of the Earth's population and the life on the Earth, or Superman, who really only protects 30% of the planet? I mean, let's get real here for a second. It's Aquaman all the way.
I hope you guys are right. It definitely would be interesting take. I realized one independent book that we forgot to mention, and I know you're a big fan. We talked a little bit about Jace and Aaron. I know you guys are both fans of this. Is Conan from Jim Zub?
Oh my
Conan
goodness!
has been actually excellent. Both Savage.
Do we want to go down this rabbit hole?
We won't go down the rabbit hole.
You know exactly where we're going.
Yeah, we won't go down the rabbit hole, but go listen to my interview from earlier this year with Jim Zub. He's absolutely killing it on Conan, and the art.
Yes.
Every artist that's been on that book is both Savage and regular. And another part of the reason I remembered is Liam Sharp is another creator who I got a chance to interview. He did an issue of Savage Sword of Conan this year, bucket list item for him. So yeah, we're getting ready to wind it down. Really great conversation, guys. Rocky, I want to ask you about your lights that are flashing behind your shelves there. It looks like they flash in time to us talking and change color. Is that accurate?
Yeah, they do. Yes, I have it. It's just nothing really special. You can buy you can buy the lights that stick on the wall, and there's a setting that they respond to sound. So every time you talk, every time it picks up a sound wave, it just flashes. So that's exactly what it does, actually. Yeah. So I just put it on that. So I suppose I should have asked Steve if he's prone to seizures because
I was going to say he doesn't even know, but I'm loaded with Omega Energy and it just lights up because I've shown up here today. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah,
we've been recording for almost 3 hours, and I didn't notice it till like the last 10 minutes. But it reminds me, one of my uncles, my youngest uncle, he was, by the time I was really old enough to really remember, he had moved away and gone to college. But in his room, on his top shelf, he had like this big glass box, if you will, that had a wood top and a wood bottom. And it flashed different colors when you talked, and it was really interesting. But it was super old, and the fact that this is the same technology in much smaller form. How far we've come. We're talking the difference between late '60s technology versus 2020 technology. So anyway, that's going to do it for this episode, everybody. It's going to wrap up our fireside chats for 2025. Hope you all enjoyed it. I want to express my thanks to all of the creators who came on and took time out of their busy holiday season to come on and talk with me and give little hints of what's to come and talk about their previous work. So again, my thanks to Philip Kennedy Johnson, Pornsack Pichachote, Chris Condon, Jeremy Adams, Zach Kaplan, Tom King, Richard Ashley Hamilton, Tim Seeley, Keith Corson, Liam Sharp. So, don't think I forgot anybody. Let me see one. Nope, that's everybody. And also my thanks to Rocky and Steve for taking time out of their holiday season to do this comic talk episode, which was a heck of a lot of fun. And hopefully it's not a whole year before we get a chance to jump on another podcast. And you guys planning on doing San Diego again this year? You gonna make it happen? I know it's tough. It's so expensive to come from Canada. Hotels are not cheap, and getting it.
If the bank account will let it happen, I will let it happen.
I can tell you that the plan is, this is very serious. I the wife and I, we were actually planning. It's very possible we're either going to go to Disneyland or literally plan a trip to San Diego, either during the Comic-Con next year in 2026, or even before. Because the hotel that Steve and I stayed at, they actually have an event calendar for the whole year, and we stayed at a fantastic hotel, which was farther away, but it had like fantastic. I mean, it was right by the fashion. It was something. It was near a fashion mall, and it was just a really great place, great location, right by the subway, and it was just fantastic. And again, San Diego is just a fantastic. There's so much to do, and so I actually got a lot of advice from the management at the hotel that said, yeah, take your family up, and we're either going to go up in probably April or May, or we might even time it for the San Diego in 2026. But if I go up for San Diego next year, I'll spend less time at the con and more time with the family, just exploring San Diego, because San Diego is fantastic. Like I said, I wasn't kidding when I said that San Diego is a beautiful place, wonderful people. It's just, like I love America. I mean, not leave the politics aside. I got no problem with America. It's a fantastic place to visit, and it was a really good time. The people were fantastic, and I definitely want to go back. And so, yeah, that might it's absolutely in the cards. Again, less time at the con, it don't matter. I mean, if I can get my wife and my 11-year-old daughter, she just turned 11. My daughter, our daughter Audrey, turned 11 yesterday, actually. So, or day before yesterday, on the 16th, when we're filming this. But in any event, but yeah, so good times.
I'll just say, if you want to go and experience San Diego with your wife and daughter, you're better off going at a time. Don't go during the con, because things are more expensive and more crowded. Like, go if you just want to do San Diego, and do the beach and you could go tour the aircraft carriers, you could go to the zoo, you can go to the parks there, like all that stuff. Go when the con is not going on, because hotels will be less than half the cost of what you're going to pay during the con. So yeah, go and enjoy San Diego for itself. And if you do the con separate. Like, don't. Again, that's my advice. Only because of the cost, and it's just everything's harder to do during the con. It's harder to get an Uber. Ubers are more expensive. It's harder to get a hotel room. Hotel rooms are more expensive. It's harder to get flights. Flights are more expensive. Like, so.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be my advice. So.
Well, I'm not even sure. My wife, God bless my wife. I mean, Corley, she's amazing. She always wants to try to cater to me as well. So
yeah,
she's always trying to meet me halfway, saying, "Well, okay, we can do it during the con." But the thing, I don't disagree with you.
So you could think about doing it this way. So you could go out and do the con. Maybe you don't do the whole con. Maybe you don't go out and do Wednesday through whatever. Maybe you just do Saturday and Sunday at the con, and then have your wife and daughter fly out Sunday night, because the cheapest time to get a hotel room in San Diego of the entire year. Sunday night of San Diego Comic-Con, because everybody leaves, but a lot of people don't want to come in and fight the bustle of the people leaving, right? So the cheapest night of the year, and really the rooms are pretty cheap that whole week following the con, because people are leaving. Yes, you still have a number of creators and publishers or whatever that are packing up their stuff, and they don't leave until later or what have you, but it's pretty inexpensive to stay that Sunday night or whatever. So you could always do a couple days of the con and then have them fly out and meet you, or you could have them come the week before. But it's still expensive the week before, because people that like to get there early, they're already taking meetings, what have you. So something to think about. I was gonna say, I'm not even sure I'm doing it this year, which I say that and it's like, man, I haven't missed a year since like 2011.
You'll be there,
so I'll probably be there. But to my earlier point about less people going to conventions because of the cost and what have you, creators and what have you. I don't know how much that affects San Diego Comic-Con, because again, they're not for profit, but I'm sure it's going to affect them some. But yeah, it also affects me. Like, I spent over $1,000 in my hotel room last year, and that was a little rough. So I definitely, like, if I go to San Diego this year, I really don't think I'm going to do New York this year. I think I'm going to skip New York, just because, again, the cost. I mean, you think hotel rooms are expensive in San Diego? whew, New York is a whole nother ball game. And you stay in a broom closet. They're tiny, tiny rooms.
Yeah.
So, but the trade off is, in San Diego, I usually have my car, and that's a hassle, parking and all that. As opposed to New York's got good public transportation. You just take the subway or walk.
Yeah, my last day in 2019, I stayed an extra day in New York, a couple extra days in New York in 2019, and I treated myself, and I stayed at a nice hotel. I splurged on myself. I stayed at a nice hotel near Times Square, and I paid top dollar for a real nice high-rise hotel in Times Square, and I don't regret it. It was a really good time. Treated myself to nice steak dinners and enjoyed myself, and yeah. I mean, hey, when in New York, enjoy it. But no, it's a great time. I mean, this is such a wonderful first world obstacle to confront. I mean, I'm fortunate enough. I'm an old man yelling at clouds most of the time, but I'm an old man that also, I'm not that old. I'm also enjoying the fruits of my labor as well. I'm still a little kid who's an adult now, and I get to really enjoy comic books in some of the greatest places in the world, and so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I love New York. New York's got its own energy. I mean, I suppose I could always try to finagle another work trip out of it, save a little money that way. But the other thing is that my wife and daughter have never been to New York, and we're thinking about trying to go there during the Christmas season next year.
Oh my!
So that's another part of the reason that I'm like, maybe I don't do Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con next year. Maybe I just do.
Check out the big Christmas tree in Times Square, right?
Yeah, Rockefeller Center. They have a big Christmas tree, skating rink, what have you. So, anyway, again,
you skate?
New York City.
I was just asking if you skate.
Oh, do I skate? Actually, yeah. I mean, I have my own skates. I don't even know if they fit anymore. It's been quite a while since I've been on skates. But yeah, I fell in love with ice skating when I was in high school. And then when I went to college, my first 2 years in college, I had late enrollment in college. And so all the freshman dorms were full by the time I got everything squared away. And so they put me on the 4th floor of the oldest building on campus with no elevator. It was 6 flights of stairs to get up to the 4th floor. And it was all juniors and seniors on my floor, except for me. And the guys that lived next door to me, one of them was the captain of the hockey team. Now, this is California, San Francisco Bay Area. So it was a club sport, which meant, it wasn't officially sponsored by the university. So you had to kind of raise money for your uniforms and trips and whatever. And you played against other universities in California that also had hockey as a club sport. And they would practice at the Berkeley ice rink, which was about half an hour away. But the only time that they could get on the ice, because they weren't really affiliated with the university, was like midnight. They had this agreement with the ice rink to be able to go on midnight. But because the hockey team was so small and being a club sport, they were always looking for guys to play against, to practice scrimmage against, whatever. So when he found out that I could skate, he's like, "Hey, you want to come and scrimmage against us, or whatever?" So I sucked, as far as like playing hockey. I'm really fast. I was a really fast skater, but I never really got the hang of shooting or stick handling or any of that. I actually played lacrosse as a club sport there at the college. But I did enjoy it, and it was a chance to skate for free. And so yeah, I can skate, but it's been, I've probably, in the last 15 years, I've probably skated like 3 times maybe. But yeah, there was a time when I skated, a couple times a week. So I'm probably not hopeless. Probably just a little rusty. It's like riding a bike, Yeah. You never forget how to skate. I actually feel like snow skiing and ice skating are sort of similar You're kind of on the edge of the blade or the edge of the skis. Obviously, there are some differences, but I always felt kind of similar actions with the legs and whatever. So yeah. So to answer your question, I'm not a Canadian, so I'm not. I don't have innate hockey skills, but I can skate. I'm sure I'm nowhere near as fast, and my endurance is not as good as it used to be. But yeah, I used to be pretty fast. So all right. That really is it, everybody. Again, thanks so much, guys, for joining me. On behalf of Rocky and Steve, we again want to wish everybody a healthy, happy, and safe holiday season. Hope you all have a wonderful time with friends and family. If you're traveling, please be safe. We're all looking forward to better times and a prosperous 2026. Hopefully that get a turnaround in the economy. We can start seeing a little less divisiveness in the world, and we can all celebrate our love of comics. So, I mean, Rocky's right when he says we do go on various rants on our DC spotlights or what have you, but it's out of a place of love and caring for these characters, and we try to keep them to a minimum. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, what we're doing here with Rocky and myself and Steve when he's available to join is just celebrating our love of comics, celebrating the love of the medium, celebrating story, and celebrating the nostalgia and the escapism that is comics. So we hope you all join us in the new year. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to head over to Rocky's channel where we do our DC spotlights every week. Comic Space Boom ! You can see it there on the screen under him and Steve. And be sure you subscribe to this channel if you're watching this on YouTube. Comic Source, where all the Comic Source content comes out other than the DC Spotlight, all the interviews, all the fireside chats, convention coverage, all that kind of stuff. And then everything is available on the podcast feed, audio only, if that's your preference, the way you like to consume content. You can find the Comic Source on any podcasting app or platform. So, again, that's going to do it. Everybody, appreciate you joining as always. Rocky, Steve, any final thoughts?
Well, for me, just a Merry Christmas to everybody. And just to reiterate the comment that 2026, if you allowed yourself to fall down the rabbit hole of too much social media, there's a lot of doom and gloom about 2026, about AI and everything. And even though this is the last physical representation that anybody will ever see of me, because all the future representations of myself will be nothing but AI constructs and my voice will not be my own, I'm just kidding. Everything's going to be okay. The world's not falling apart. You're not going insane. You're not going crazy. Everything's going to be okay. Go out and buy a comic book, read it, and enjoy it. Meditate, enjoy it. Wake up, hug your family, love your wife, love your children, love all the people that you care about. Enjoy your life, enjoy comic books, and be happy, because that's what life is all about. 100%. And Merry Christmas.
100%. Steve, any last thoughts?
Just Merry Christmas to all your listeners. And at the end of the day, 2026, every day is a new day. And if you can pick up a comic book in that new day, it's going to be a better day.
Yes.
Bottom line.
Well said. Well said. We'll see you all in the new year. Don't forget, everybody, DC is not putting out any titles on New Year's Eve, so Rocky and I will not be doing a spotlight on that day. But we'll be back the first Wednesday of the new year with that DC spotlight. So that is January 7th, and we'll see you all then.
Catch you later.